first thing I want to say is how grateful I am for these gatherings and how astonished I am. It feels like it feels like I've stumbled across this in some kind of part of an accident.
Yes, yes, I understand.
It's wow.
Wow, really.
I really like that we've talked a little bit about the body, and I also wanted to say that I really appreciate these gatherings primarily because I always see myself up here. Every person, really quite amazing. So I'm really interested in this notion of commitment and the first time I came up here was a year ago, and I had been doing all kinds of other things for a long time, and there was always some idea that something around the corner was going to be it. Even though I had had some pretty astonishing experiences, and I could never hold on to them, so I figured the real one must be around the corner. and yet I still felt like I'd been let out of this horrifying prison a long time ago. And but I thought, how can I possibly help all these people that I see are in the prison? There's not even a door on the prison, and we don't know that until we do. So I've been spending a lot of time training to teach in another tradition, and I got about 80% of the way to, where they were going to give me the juice or whatever. And this spring I was at a 2-week silent retreat in that tradition, and about 10 days into it, I just looked around and went, I don't want to do this. I said thanks to the people leading the retreat, and they said, why are you leaving so early? I said, just something personal came up. I don't need to expound on it. It's really, I feel like I'm a metal filing drawn to a magnet. But it is not, it's not a searching, there's no desperateness to it.
No, it's a surrender, it sounds like.
It's choiceless.
Yes, metal filings. You are drawn to it. But when you're conscious of that, and you're conscious of the pull and the surrender, yes, choiceless then is the word. Really choiceless.
And I feel like it's another thing that doesn't, like, a lot of this doesn't really make sense to me, because I feel like, on the one hand, I feel I've made a commitment, in a way, to use some kind of language. I've made a commitment to not be moved. I will not be moved. And yet I move all over the place. And I still don't know that I will stop doing this other thing that I do. As I wrote in the letter, it feels a lot. Yeah. It feels like kind of like studying how to make watches or something. It's fascinating.
Skills.
Fascinating.
Or rug making, if you're a Sufi. And
it's like I'm as interested in my mind, or in the mind, or whatever, as a mechanic might be in an engine or something.
Yes, very
really
interesting.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and I agree. Buddhism has such a clarity of understanding of the workings of mind.
They got the owner's manual down.
Yes. Yeah, it's true.
But I don't feel like it's going to get me anything.
Well, that's really Zen Buddhism. That's it. Then you make your watches. Put out your rug on the street, put your watches on the thing, and see who wants to buy one.
Well, and that's the sort of where this is going, is that I decided right before I came to this retreat last year, I had inherited a little bit of money, and it was a lot more money than I've ever seen. But it turns out that it's not going to quite be what we thought it was going to be. so I decided I was going to take this year off and just see what it feels like to be a layabout. You talked about that at Santa Monica, just to be a layabout. And I become more and more curious about the things that come up that the mind is doing, that the body's doing, that my peers are doing, and it is a lot like a child being curious about, I don't know, watching an anthill or something. It's really fun, even though I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't want to go back to what I was doing before, because it was. I mean, I will if I get hungry enough, but I just was a horrifying job, and I have no idea what I'm going to do. And I have a chronic illness, and so having the hobby of being alive is pretty expensive. And I like living. It's fun.
It shows.
But that's the sort of interesting thing is that the only analogy I can come up with is that I felt my whole life that I was like a daffodil or a tulip or something, and now I feel like I'm coming up as a lily or a foxglove or something. I don't know what it is.
It's a mutation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I have no idea what's happening.
Good. That's telling the truth. And you will see, as you say, you get hungry, your money runs out, you know how to work, you know how to survive, and that doesn't touch this, actually. So I certainly don't know what you should do, as you know. I support you in just being true to who you are more deeply. You look better than you did last year. So I know it's been a good year for your body anyway. Yeah. What a mystery. And it is an accident. I mean, the truth is you were born with this mutation. And maybe you knew it when you were young because you were different from everybody in your town or in your family or most people anyway. And you spent how many years just trying to fit in and conform intelligently for survival. And then by accident you tumble somewhere and bump into somebody recognizes you, you read something, a book falls off the shelf, you see a YouTube, whatever it may be, and you recognize that you're not alone. And that's what brings us together. You may agree with what I say or disagree with what I say, but you recognize that we are connected in some essential way that I don't mean a spiritual family as excluding any other family, but it's a familial connection. And this is true with the people you're working with in your Buddhist group too. Most of them, not all of them, but some of them anyway. I don't know that group, but that's who's drawn to these things. So how will we be used?
It's funny too that the whole involvement with that community. There's this this idea that you should be, one thing, and it's really, really helpful for me to see how I feel like a heretic.
Yes, heresy is that's the mutation. And all the great religious leaders of all times were always heretics. They were. So are you willing to be this heretic and still gain and give?
The final thing I wanted to say is that there's something about whatever is happening that feels very alone. Not lonely, but very alone.
Yes.
It's very solitary. And I spent most of this year, I thought I was going to go to India, I thought I was going to do all this stuff, and most of the time I spent either at home or walking in the woods. And most of it alone. And and never, like, I don't have, I spoke about this in the letter, I don't really have my thoughts are there. Like this morning, when we were sitting, the hokey pokey came to mind, of all things. But that's, I look at a lot of what my thinking does is that in the same way.
Really,
it's
just
like,
discharge
blah,
of
blah, 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 blah.
neural information.
So,
Hokey pokey, that'd be good, Kathy. You could do that in your
it was rather amusing when it came out. So thank you so much. I'm so glad that we met.
Me too.
I'm really, and I just want to say again, I accept your invitation. I hope, I wish to stay committed. It is my intention to stay committed.
Then, yes. Stay committed. And the invitation is an invitation to be true to yourself. Whatever our relationship is, follows that. I mean, we may never see each other again, or we may see more of each other. It doesn't matter. You stay committed to this that is the truth, the magnet that's calling this iron filing that you are.
And somehow that feels like that we were talking about what's trustworthy, and that feels trustworthy.
Yes, it is.
Like I've begun this past year to really trust that draw, that magnet, that's real.
That's right. And you test it and see. Check it out.
Really extraordinary.
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so much. I mean, this whole accident thing, we think in terms of karma or good works or prayer, intention, and all of that really just feeds into making yourself available for a very good accident in your life.